So why did I get into real estate? Well, I'm going to give you the good, I'm going to give you the bad, and I'm going to give you the ugly. This is my real estate career confessional coming up next. Hey, what's up everybody? It's Bob Dzienis from eXp Realty. And if you're new to my channel, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. So I just want to state this up front. If you're here to learn more about real estate, I mean, a lot of my subscribers want to learn about the market and what's going on here in Bergen County, as well as anything real estate related. This actually might not be that video for you, but if you want to know a little bit about me and how I got started in real estate and why, stick around because I guess this is a vlog. I don't know how a vlog works. I'm almost 50. I'm not down with the terms, whatever. I guess I could Google it, but I think this is gonna be a vlog. You know, I get asked this question pretty frequently, like, why did you get into real estate? Like, what's the deal? So I thought this could be a good time now to discuss why I got into it. And let me tell you, I've learned a lot, especially coming from a 25+ year career in a couple of different industries. You know, people are like, how the heck what made you get into real estate, right? You're kind of on a trajectory path in corporate. What made you get out? So if you're joining me today because you wanted to learn about my latest topic on real estate, whether it's in Bergen County or Northern New Jersey, this isn't gonna be that video, so see ya. If you don't want to learn more about me. But stick around because, you know, it's kind of been an interesting journey for myself, and it's been scary, it's been fun, it's been exciting, it's been every emotion you could possibly imagine for me to get into this business and starting my own real estate business. So there's gonna be no method to the madness of this video. I am just gonna talk, So first things first, I did not wake up one day and say, you know, I went to college and did all that kind of stuff and thought, oh, I wanna be a real estate agent. I didn't start out like that at all. So just to give you some background on myself, I actually I was born and grew up in New Jersey. I was born in Morristown Memorial Hospital in Morris County, New Jersey, in Morristown. And I grew up in a town called Mendham, New Jersey, out in Morris County. I am an only child. Give you a little perspective, I was born on leap day. I'm actually 12 this year in leap years, which is kind of exciting. So I kind of have that Doogie Howser thing going on. If you don't know who Doogie Howser is, look him up on the Google. And probably when I was like 7, I guess it was 6 or 7, my family decided to move to New Hampshire, and we lived there for a couple of years. And it was during that time my parents actually divorced. And once my parents divorced, my mother decided, you know, I live with my mother. She decided, all right, we're gonna move back to New Jersey because we had a lot of family here in the area. I grew up for a time in Dover, New Jersey, lived in Denville, New Jersey, and eventually wound up in Parsippany, New Jersey, which is probably around 5th grade. I think it was about 5th grade or so. My parents tried to reconcile. I lived with my dad for a little bit, but it just wasn't the right thing to do. So that was from 5th grade on through high school. And during that time I decided, all right, I wanted to get out of New Jersey, I thought. Had a lot of family influence who said, you know, you really should. You know, what are you gonna do with your life? I'm like, I don't know. So I applied to a couple schools in California. I applied to a couple schools in Florida as well. And I wound up getting into the University of Miami down in Miami, Florida. So my goal to get out of New Jersey was becoming a reality after graduation from high school. I went to Miami. I was a hurricane for 4 years. And my major down there was advertising and psychology. I actually started out in accounting and thought, oof, I kind of like numbers, but I can't see myself becoming a CPA. And my mindset then was all about money. I was like, oh, a CPA makes a lot of money. I guess I'll become a CPA. Why not become a CPA? So then I realized I got into the communications and marketing program at UM and thought, hey, this is pretty cool. It's fun, it's interesting, it's creative, which I really enjoyed. So I wound up graduating with a degree in advertising and psychology from the University of Miami. I lived in Miami another year. I actually got a job. I had a couple internships and got a job at one of my internships. And what I focused mostly on in advertising was media buying and planning. And basically what that is you take a client's budget, right? There's an advertising campaign that goes in. And when you take someone's budget, you decide what are the best vehicles that an advertising message should be in. Is it a magazine? Is it television commercials? What makes the most sense to try to hit the demographic that you're trying to target? So I was there for about a year. I lived in Kendall, which was south of Miami, but realized I was like, you know, this is kind of strange. I grew up in New Jersey. It's strange having Christmas here in Florida with, you know, Christmas lights and palm trees. And frankly, I miss my grandmother's lasagna and I miss my mother's meatloaf. So I thought maybe it's time to come home. But I did it. I lived down in Miami for a year. I worked there for a year and decided, all right, I'm gonna come back to New Jersey, and got a job in advertising in Morristown. And then eventually I got a job in New York City. I just thought, all right, if you're gonna stay in advertising, you need to get like big time, right? So go to one of the big agencies in Manhattan, making like no money, working till like 2 a.m. sometime, getting an eye twitch. It was crazy, just from all the stress of commuting into Manhattan. And it was at that moment I decided, you know what, I don't think that this is for me. And it's kind of funny how life takes you. You know, friends of friends had recommended, hey, you know, are you good with computers? You know, computers were really coming into play then, personal computers. Systems were really coming into play at that time. And a friend said, hey, you know, maybe you could work on a help desk. You know, there's a lot of money in computers. Maybe it's something you want to consider. So I wound up applying, and I got a job on a help desk working in pharmaceuticals. And basically they created software that would help sales people be more effective out in the field. So what was awesome about this job in the beginning, it was scary because you had to basically troubleshoot over the phone with sales reps, and they'd scream at you, they'd yell at you, you know, you couldn't fix their computer issue. It was constant, you know, so some were really nice on the phone, some were really mean, which was hilarious. And a supervisor said to me, you know, with your personality, maybe you want to get into training and development. Maybe you want to train the sales reps on the system. So, you know, get off the phones and actually go train some of these people. So I thought, all right, that could be kind of cool. And I started to go out into the field and meet the people that I actually spoke to on the phone and train them on systems, which was, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. So one of the things I realized is that I love helping people and working with people and interacting with people. Eventually I got into like more training manager roles where I actually used to do implementation of training rollouts, right, for these big clients. It could be 4,000 people, 5,000 sales reps out in the field. And I got to put the training materials together and write the scripts and do all that kind of stuff. And I did that for a few years, and I really enjoyed it. And eventually I got recruited for another ad agency in New York City, but this role was different. And it was interesting because it was a human resources role for an ad agency. So I thought, oh, with my prior advertising experience and now my training experience, maybe this could be a great fit and help me build my career even more. You know, I didn't really have experience with, you know, they call these skills soft skills. They call these like, you know, management skills and leadership skills and business writing skills or presentation skills. You know, these are the soft skills that are required for you to help kind of build your capability within a job in corporate. Interviewed really well, we laughed a lot, and I got the job, and it was awesome. So this is my first city job. And it was really more of like a coaching role, which I really enjoyed. I was with them for many years. I loved it, loved the people that I worked with. It was one of those special places. We just had such a great time together, and we all helped each other out. And eventually I got into some other roles in New York City, and then I got into pharmaceutical training as well for some pretty large companies also. But one of the things I realized, and that I came to realize over time as I was getting into these new roles, was I didn't really kind of fit the mold of corporate. You know, I don't want to be a vice president. I don't want to be a senior vice president and kind of commit my life to the organization. I just realized I think I need to be doing this for myself. You know, how are people building businesses for themselves? So I reached out to a few people, and one thing led to another, and I eventually became a consultant. And it was exciting. I was like, oh, I'm my own boss now, and I can make my own hours. And it was during this too that I started to realize I have some friends who are in real estate, and they're successful, and they're busy, and you could see, I mean, with social media, you can see everything. I reached out to a couple of friends who were successful, who I was seeing that they were successful in real estate, and thought, you know, how did you do this? How do you start this? Like, what do you have to do? So these two friends were super helpful. They gave me a lot of tips. They gave me a lot of advice. And I said to my husband, I said, listen, John, this is what I want to do, right? I think with my skills and things that I've built over time, this is something I want to pursue. Are you okay with it? And he was fine with it, and he was here to support me, and which was fantastic. All right, so I buckled down, I studied, I paid my, whatever it was, a couple $100, I guess, for the real estate exam here in New Jersey. Went to class at night while I was working, and eventually I passed my real estate exam. Once you pass your real estate exam, you then have to figure out, where do you want to hang your license, right? What brokerage do you want to be part of? What are your needs and wants, like all of that kind of stuff. And I really thought I did my due diligence. I read books that were recommended by my two friends. I Google searched like crazy about how to start a real estate business, like what are some of the pros and cons, like what are the types of things that you need to keep in mind as you're getting into this business. All right, so I thought I was well prepped and ready to go. I've trained how to put a business plan together. I was like, all right, I'm gonna put a business plan together for myself. And I put a business plan together for myself, and all right, I'm out, here we go. It's not an immediate like, hey, I'm in real estate, so everyone's gonna come flocking. and say, okay, Bob, we're going to give you our business. We're going to sell our house. We're going to buy a house from you. It doesn't work like that. All right, so I made this big jump to leave corporate, even my consulting business, and I got into real estate. So let me tell you about some of the things that I learned that maybe can help you if you are considering getting into real estate. And this is my perspective, this is my lens. Might not be the same for anybody, right? We each experience things differently, and these were my experiences. So I'm gonna share them with you, and maybe it'll be helpful, but I'll give you some tips as well that kind of help me get on the path where I'm at now. So one of the first things you definitely want to do is not believe anything. And what I mean by that is, if you're on social media and you start seeing posts from realtors and you kind of know, who are the big realtors who are in your market and stuff, just follow them, watch what they're doing, get some experience and exposure to some of the things that they're doing. And the thing with social media is it looks like it's so easy, right? Everything is so easy, and this is not an easy business. And what I mean by it not being an easy business, you have to get clients. And so if you have to make phone calls, 100 calls a day, you have to be prepared to do that. You have to somehow find business. Business just doesn't come to you, right? If you put on social media constantly that you're now in real estate, doesn't mean people are going to pick up the phone and say, yes, I am going to give you business. It doesn't work like that. So you have to figure out, all right, first of all, how are you going to get clients? But even before that, you also have to figure out, where do you want to hang your license? And until you start getting out there and meeting with people, you have to figure out what is the best place for you that's going to make the most sense for you, where you want to hang your license. One of the biggest things you have to keep in mind too is, as a real estate agent, you are your own boss. You are a consultant, basically. You don't work for these brokerages. You're not a full-time employee for these brokerages. So if you have that mentality coming from a corporate mindset, nobody cares, right? Like, as long as you're not going to real estate jail, you're following all of the rules and regulations that are out there for real estate, doesn't matter where you hang your license, you are not a full-time employee of that broker. So that took a little while to get used to, because sometimes you're expecting a boss to be on you. You are your own boss. So you have to dictate your schedule. You have to figure out, like, what is going to be the best way for me to build business? How am I going to get clients? So coming out of the gate, you might think, oh, I'm going to get a ton of clients. Might not happen. Also, have you done some prep in regards to, do you have some savings set aside? You might need it. So even before you decide to get into real estate, just watch on social media, become friendly with realtors, follow realtors. Every realtor, every brokerage is going to say, we're the best, we're number one, we do this the best, blah, blah, blah. It's smoke and mirrors until you figure out what's best for you. And honestly, you have to experience things to figure out whether it works for you or not. So when I first got into real estate, my goal was to get in with, let's say, a more popular brokerage. And I did that because I thought that I would get help and experience and all of that kind of stuff, which is fine. And sometimes there's a lot of promises, and I'm not saying this brokerage in particular, I'm just saying in general. You're gonna hear a lot of promises, and then you get into it and you're like, it's not reality. It's just not. So if you hear a lot of promises that are coming from brokerages, sometimes you might get leads, you might get opportunities for leads. So definitely do your due diligence. Figure out, and it might not make, listen, I have bounced around in multiple brokerages because I thought one thing, I got in and realized it wasn't for me. Either I wasn't getting the support that was promised, or culturally maybe I just didn't feel like I fit in, or honestly I saw behaviors that I just thought, well, that higher producing agent gets more than I do in regards to support. Well, why is that? Why are you not supporting me? If I take another training class, I'm not executing, right? So I need to, fine, you can offer all the training in the world, but I need to still be executing. So, there's various things that I started to feel that, I don't know if this is gonna work for me. Then I went to another brokerage that promised higher commission, but so what? It didn't mean anything. They still weren't necessarily giving me anything. And I had to shell out a lot of money for that, right? So you might be on a journey in the beginning to figure out what is the best brokerage for me. And be cautiously optimistic in all honesty, right? Do your research, really use Google, talk to people, develop relationships, and see where does it feel most comfortable for you as an individual, because one brokerage might not work for you. Just because it's working for 500 other people doesn't mean that it might work out for you. And honestly, that could change. For me, it changed after 6 or 7 months. I decided, there's behaviors and things that I'm seeing here that are not for me. And I left. One thing is, I actually started out as a solo agent, and looking back, I kind of wish that I got into a team environment sooner rather than later. But there's definitely something to be said about the team environment, because you can actually really learn the process, right? Real estate is a process, and you have to get into a rhythm, you have to get into a rigor to build business. And being on a team can really help with that. So you can, lead gen for, a couple of hours, and then do your follow-ups and do all that kind of stuff. So you need to figure out what is the rhythm or the rigor, and you need to get into that routine. Or like when I was in corporate, there was a routine, right? You know the process and you know what your schedule would look like. You have to create that in real estate. Nobody's gonna be on you unless if there's expectations from a team member. So I read a few books up front because I thought, all right, I need to really understand what this rhythm and rigor might be. How do I set myself up for success? But being on a team, I went on a team a little bit later in my journey, and it definitely helped in regards to rhythm and rigor. And I had support. And I still have support. I'm no longer on a team, but I have support from many of those people, because if I need to, I'm in the throes of a transaction and I need to call somebody, like, what do I say? How do I go through this? If I still need to call any of those team members, I'm able to do that and still get the support, because you still need support. Transactions can fail left and right, or things can pop up left or right, and you have to be able to navigate that and know what to say. You have different personality types and all kinds of things that can happen throughout this whole process. So sometimes you need someone to give you guidance and support. And that brings up something else. One thing that I learned, it took a little while, is trusting people. The number one person you have to trust is yourself. Trust your gut, trust your feelings, just trust yourself. Because there can be times where this can be a very deflating business. You could be chasing leads and trying to get leads and trying to convert leads, and then you never hear from them, and you think, oh, this is gonna be a positive experience, I'm gonna help this person, and then you never hear from them again. Or you get told to go F yourself on the phone because you're cold calling a neighborhood. And so you're banking on that next deal, that next opportunity, and then it goes nowhere. You have to be prepared for that kind of stuff, and you need a tough skin. And whatever the statistic is, I don't know if it's like almost 90% of real estate agents fail within the first 2 to 3 years. I can see why. There's no consistency in this business at all. You have to create that consistency. In corporate, you have a job and you are paid for that job, and you're paid based on your performance. In real estate, you're paid based on your performance as well, but it's your own performance. So you dictate your schedule. You dictate how many leads you want. You have to go find them. So yeah, you have to trust yourself. You have to trust your own abilities, and don't let the noise bring you down. The noise, and what I mean by the noise, is if you're on social media all the time and you're looking at others, that's noise, right? Sometimes that can bring you down, because you see this agent's getting this listing, that agent got that listing, and it really can hit you. It really can give you, it can be completely demotivating, and it could make you want to quit. Absolutely. But if you have trustworthy people, and that takes time, people that you trust, even people that I have trusted turned out to not be trustworthy in this business over time. So you have to trust yourself and trust people in your tribe. What I mean by that is your family, your friends, people who support and love you. They're gonna be your tribe. But you might have 1 or 2, maybe 3 other people in the business that you've developed relationships with, whether it's a vendor, whether it's another agent, who you know in your heart of hearts that you can trust those individuals. Because unfortunately, real estate agents don't always have the best reputation. Sometimes we're seen as used car salespeople. Sometimes we're seen as very aggressive, basically taking people and putting them against the wall, saying you have to buy this house. No, right? Listen, I bought a house, we bought a house, my husband and I bought a house. It's a scary, exciting, emotional time. Why would I force you to purchase something if you're not ready? But that's part of what I want to understand is, when are you ready? And if it's going to take you 6 months and you feel like 6 months down the road might be the right time, then that's the right time. That brings me up to another point with real estate is, you need to understand people's motivation, needs and wants, like all of those things. And that's why I got into real estate, because I was doing that in my corporate environment. I was coaching, I was working with people, I was getting them to or helping them improve in their performance at work. So that's one of the things that I love about real estate is that you're interacting with different people and different personality types. Just always keep in mind, what are your skills? What are the things that you enjoy doing? And utilize those skills to help build your real estate career, right? To get new business, maybe you don't like to be on the phones. You'll discover that, something, after a while, being on the phones and trying to get people and convince people to meet with you, it's exhausting. Being told to go F yourself consistently is annoying, but you want to find people, you want to find a brokerage who is going to help you in all of those spaces so that you can figure out what's right for you. I want you to keep that in mind. What is best for you? And you might not know that up front until you experience pain and you experience the goodness of what real estate can offer. So we talked about trusting in yourself, trusting of others. We talked about where to hang your license and kind of things to look for. Other things you got to keep in mind with real estate too is you need to be consistent in not just trying to get your next deal, trying to get your next lead, but you're also your marketing person, you're your accountant and bookkeeper. Like, you have to be good at some of those things or all of those things. And if you're not, you then have to leverage maybe other resources. Maybe there's people that once you've gotten some consistent business that you can kind of give to other people. You also have to be your own admin. And that's something I've realized, I hate the admin part of this. You've got to put paperwork into an MLS, you've got to kind of manage the whole process. And some people are really good at it, and some people, it's not your thing. And you start to learn, maybe I can leverage some resources. Maybe I can pay a resource, $50 to put everything into the MLS for me. Other things you start to realize too is you can actually leverage other resources. So for instance, if, I love social media, most of the time. Sometimes you're seeing a lot of negative messages, especially now in our current environment politically and all of that, but you have to have some consistency in reminding your sphere of influence that you're in real estate. More recently, I've gotten into YouTube. I love the YouTube platform because for me, when I was in training and development, I was up and training and giving value all the time. This is a great opportunity, and I want to take advantage of that to provide value to folks who are watching my channel, for instance. So you have to figure out what's right for you, and that takes time. Unless if you have a big sphere of influence who is going to give you that business right away and you start interacting with them, you've got to experience the pain, you've got to experience the rejection, because there's a lot of rejection in this business, and you've got to be comfortable with that. And either you move on from it and you're okay with it and you've got your tribe to kind of talk you through it, or you leave the business, because it's not as easy. That's what makes this a difficult business. It's not hard to transact real estate, but if you have a good team of people who can answer questions for you, it does make it easier, right? Because you have go-to people that you trust and that you can work with. So I don't know. So here I am. I'm just kind of pontificating. I guess, is this a vlog? I don't know. But some kind of closing thoughts. If you're going to get into this business of real estate, think about your why. Right? Why do you want to get into it? For me, my why is I love to help people and I love educating people, which is why for me, YouTube is such a great platform, because I can use video to educate people on anything and everything real estate, for instance. You need to be a good problem solver. So that's something I've learned over time to become, right? Working on multi-million-dollar projects, you have to become a problem solver, and you need to figure out where you can go or who you can speak to get that issue resolved. So essentially, as a real estate agent, you're a big project manager. You are getting someone from those first stages all the way to the closing table. You're a project manager, and you have to be good at that. Some people might think too, I need to be salesy, you need to buy this house. I still think that you can sell in regards to just using your personality, using your education, using your influence in a good way, not to be influential in a bad way to make people decide on purchasing something or selling something without them feeling good about that decision. Part of your role as an agent is to check in and make sure that they're feeling okay with all of these things that they're going through. Trust yourself, trust your gut, trust your experience, because you're going to build experience over time the more that you're in this business. And you might start interacting with a buyer or even sellers, for instance, who feel well, I can do it better. Why do I need a real estate agent? You don't know what you're talking about. blah, 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 blah. And you've got to decide and get confident enough to say, you know something, it's not worth working with you. It happens frequently. You'll see that with for sale by owners. They feel that they could do it smarter, faster, better, cheaper, whatever the situation might be. But a lot of times they just don't yet realize that maybe they do need the help of a real estate agent. Some other advice I can give in regards to just starting in real estate and being successful in real estate is figuring out, you know, I was talking about tribe before, like your tribe of people. That will take time. You might immediately feel like, okay, this is a good person, and you know, like one of the things that I realize is that not everyone shares the secret sauce. Like, what is the secret sauce to this business? There's a lot of accolades for those high producing agents, like they're awesome, this is amazing, and when you ask them, you know, are you buying leads? Like, what are you doing? How are you so successful? Sure, you've been around for 30 years and you have a big referral business, okay, fine, but you know, when the accolades are going in that space pretty frequently, you're just, how are they getting their business? What's going on? Sometimes they won't share, you know? So there are agents willing to share. There are people out there willing to share and wanting to help others because, you know, we're all in this together. As real estate agents, you know, if I'm putting a house out on the market, I want to be able to work with the other person who might bring the buyer for my listing, right? So we all should be respectful, but unfortunately that's not always the case. It's just the reality of this business. But unfortunately in this business, it takes some time to figure out who can I trust, because what I've noticed is, you know, you can develop relationships with people, you know, you can keep in touch with people, but everyone is in this for themselves and their clients, obviously. But you know, you as an individual, you are first in line, and you should be. But it might take some time to figure out those people that you can actually trust. And I hate saying that, but it's just the truth of this business. And there are some really good agents who are always willing to help, and you'll find them. You just have to go with your gut and figure out, is this someone who is willing to help me? There are people like that out there. You just have to find them. Also, in this business, you have to get comfortable getting out of your comfort zone, right? When I first started in this business, I just remember one of the brokerages kept saying, you have to make phone calls, that's how you're gonna get your business. And in the beginning, it sucked. I hated it. And then I got okay with it. You have to figure out where your niche is, what is most comfortable for you, and focus in that space. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's Facebook ads. Maybe it's spending thousands of dollars on Zillow or Realtor.com. You know, these are the things that nobody tells you or teaches you. You kind of have to discover on your own, like, oh, so that's how that agent's getting all that business. Oh, they spent $3,000 a month on Zillow. I don't know, I'm just making that up, but it's true. Or they've been in the business for 30-something years and they have a huge referral business because they've been doing this a long time. As a new agent, it could be scary, it could be daunting, because you're like, how am I going to make money in this business? The other biggest misconception is, I'm gonna make a ton of money. Yeah, there is such freedom and opportunity with real estate, and it's all dependent on you. And as you get more experience and you get more comfortable in this business, you start to decide, what are my boundaries, what am I gonna do, and what am I not going to do? That just comes with confidence and experience. And some wise words of advice that I heard from folks, from agents over the years, is there is enough business out there for everybody. You just have to figure out how to get that business. And honestly, give yourself the opportunity, figure it out, because it will come if you have the patience, if you have the diligence, if you have the drive and desire to make it happen for yourself. You just have to be patient with yourself. And sometimes that's easier said than done. All right, so there's my little download. I guess I said everything I wanted to say. I don't know, but this is awesome. So if you want to see more of these kinds of videos, like just me, bleh, then go ahead, comment below. If you like what you saw, give me a comment below. And as always, if you ever have questions about real estate here in Bergen County or anywhere in northern New Jersey, go ahead, my information is below. Feel free to reach out anytime. I'm happy to talk about just my experiences in this business, or just check out any of my other videos. Every week I'm gonna have new videos about anything and everything Bergen County, all about real estate. So don't forget to click that like button for me, but also go ahead and subscribe, because I will have new videos every week. So again, I'm Bob Dzienis with eXp Realty. I wanna thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week with my next video.